Guys, we'll start in like 5 minutes or so, maybe 10 minutes, depends on when Yves is ready.
Yeah, I think I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Oh, you're ready? Okay.
Okay, it's
Yep.
good. Can kick off, memetics. Maybe just start with know, your introduction, and then we'll kick
Sure.
things off.
Yeah, so I talked about this a few days ago, just like how the project got started. It started with Zeus and a community call after a big dip in the market, mentioning some of the NFT interest in the community, how it'd be pretty cool to be able to transact NFTs with SOM. Um, and he just sort of said somebody pick it up and run with it. So I went and posted a proposal on Notion to the DAO, uh, which was kind of exploring the idea of how could we pursue NFTs, how could we create this kind of auction house for NFTs, um, and what ended up happening from there was pretty interesting. We had a lot of momentum of ideas coming out from different OMIs, and the project or the vision of the project kind of evolved collectively, turned into something really interesting, something that's kind of symbiotic with the protocol itself. Um, so, the main question at hand was how can we make NFTs represent the values of Olympus and the culture of Olympus, and this concept of transmuting culture into NFTs um, is one that is very interesting for the community. Um, how can we make free culture um, stronger with NFTs? So we've had meetings every weekend with a group of OMIs, just talking and coming up with ideas, and the concept has kind of evolved into the concept of a protocol controlled museum. So within this museum would be NFTs that are exclusive to the protocol. So they're one of a kind NFTs um, that nobody sells. They belong to the protocol. The only time that a NFT could be sold is if the Olympus DAO decided that it needed to be done, either through like a partnership opportunity or if they need the money. Um, and then in tandem to this museum, where we would have these one of a kind NFTs that are protocol owned, we would have an auction house where we could sell NFTs that are kind of um, related to these museum NFTs, kind of in the same family, but they're not one of a kind. They're transactable, and they'll still be rare and beautiful in their own right. Um, and we've been talking a lot about, well, what is it about NFTs that is not working, and what is it about NFTs that is working? And the culture part and the community growing part, and really keeping the community in tandem to the NFT is something we definitely want to do. But when you look at NFTs, there are a lot of problems. The NFTs are um, saturated with just sort of like wash trading. A lot of NFTs are. People just sort of like pump and dumping NFTs or like creating bids on NFTs to kind of like falsely inflate them. Um, and we want to avoid that. Um, and in addition to that, with NFTs, you have issues with just quality. You have a lot of NFTs that just kind of like just a bunch of pixels thrown into a JPEG. And then the third thing is the authentication. You know, what's stopping somebody from copying somebody else's work? What's stopping so you have an artist who makes an NFT. It's this beautiful NFT. Yeah, it has this unique strand of characters behind it that technically makes it unique, but technically I could just go copy that NFT and then make an NFT of my own and then just say that it's unique. And if I have a larger social media following or whatever, then I can, mislead people into thinking that my art is the original art. So that was another problem that we looked at. And then lastly, the concept of intrinsic value is pretty rare in NFTs. So we talked a lot about how can we foster intrinsic value so that these NFTs have basically a price floor, and that would kind of align with the Olympus values of having intrinsic price floor. And so these are all conversations that we're talking about. And so the concept kind of led to this idea of protocol owned NFTs with we would basically just have SOM staking addresses attached to these protocol owned NFTs. And then, over time, those NFTs, a percentage of the yield will go back to raising the price floor, and then another percentage of the yield will go to a special kitty that we set aside for a future migration event, so that people who purchase our NFTs will be able to migrate their NFTs into the protocol and receive an SOM price floor attached to those NFTs. So the concept is that these will be yield-bearing NFTs that have kind of perpetual value, and because we really want to focus on the layers of value that we can add to these NFTs to differentiate them from other NFTs. We want these to be really special, and we want to really carefully curate them. So the idea is that when you purchase an NFT from the auction house, you'll be able to opt into having a seat in the Odyssey DAO, which will allow you to be a part of the art curation process in the future. The first artist we're going to be working with is Dimitri. I'm really, really excited for him to be speaking shortly. But after we go through the Genesis series and we go through this first release of NFTs, we want the Odyssey DAO to kind of be this community of people that can come together and curate art and vote on which artists we want to work with. So the NFT itself will give you a voice at the table. The NFT will have an intrinsic SOM price floor, or at least that's where discussions are currently. Again, this is all kind of conceptual right now. We haven't really, we're still in meetings and welcoming anybody who wants to come join and talk with us with ideas, so that we can incorporate as many community ideas as possible. So don't take what I'm saying now as it's set in stone, but this is kind of the direction the conversations have been going. You'll have your price floor, your intrinsic value. You'll have your participation in the governance. We also want to integrate a charity aspect to these NFTs. And we've been looking at different charities that we want to work with, but we definitely want there to be a philanthropic element so that this amazing community that we have can do something good for the world beyond just the mechanisms of the treasury that already do good things for the world, but we want to contribute elsewhere philanthropically. Also, as we release NFTs, we want it to be based on collective goals. So we want to hype up some NFTs and be like, okay, once we hit this treasury benchmark, or once we hit this TVL benchmark, or once we hit this Twitter benchmark, or whatever it is, we're going to release the next NFT item. So we want to preserve that cultural aspect of that already exists in Olympus, of trying to reach collective goals. So as we hype up these beautiful pieces of art that we are curating, we want to hype them up in a way that encourages OMIs to strive for collective goals. And then the last thing is that we want these NFTs to incentivize 3-3. So when you stake in Olympus right now, the concept is that you get an NFT when you stake, and this NFT acts as a ticket to the auction house, which will allow you to, once that auction house is ready, it'll allow you to go into the auction house and transact or bid on NFTs using your SOM. But that would be something that's exclusive to the OMIs. Now, that doesn't mean that we want to exclude NFT collectors. So we would want these NFTs to be withdrawable from the auction house. And also, in the beginning, we're not going to have this auction house. So the current rollout plan would be we launch NFTs that are just normal Ethereum-based NFTs. but we announced that there's going to be a migration event in the future. I know this is a lot, so I guess, and I don't want to give a lot of time to Dimitri, so what I'm going to just say is, if you want to learn more about where the conversations are currently, go to the DAO server and go to the Odyssey channel, because right now we're open to all, and there's no such thing as a bad idea, and there's no such thing as a bad criticism either. So come in, read through the channel, read the pins, and give us feedback and let us know what your ideas are, because this is open to all. We want it to be as grassroots as possible. We want this project to be really community owned. There's a lot of NFT projects out there right now that are saying that they're community oriented or community centric or whatever the terminology, and it's just not true. A lot of these NFT projects are just like wash trading with VC money. We want this project to be purely community driven. So we want the vision of Odyssey to be driven by the meetings in the DAO, and we want the art curation to be driven by the DAO in the future. And so that's, I think, a big part of our value proposition, is that we truly are a cultural NFT in the purest form. And the art that we curate is going to be thematic to Olympus culture. So with that, I'm just going to pass it off to Yves and let him take it away.
Damn, man! Every time you explain our vision, I get even more excited, and this is exactly the whole point why this journey has been so fascinating. It's like so unscripted, so organic, so community centered. Like all the conversations we've been having in the Discord. I mean, it was my mind from day one to where we are today. It's gonna evolve even more. And I want to emphasize what you just said. Everyone listening here, please join our channel and brainstorm with us. We are so open to fresh ideas, to explore new territory. So yeah, that is for me the main message. As a very short introduction on myself, I got really fascinated by the ERC 721 standard in 2018. When I was first time like exploring smart contracts and what can be done with it. My biggest fascination was like use case of royalties for artists. And when I look where we are today, I think it's evolved definitely in the direction that I was hoping, although there's for sure room for improvement and innovation still there. But that ties in really well in how Dimitri and I actually connected. So I was really keen to get one of his NFTs. So we started chatting, we connected on Discord, we had a lot of brainstorms. I basically discovered this whole backstory that I'm gonna let him obviously explain, but I've said it many times here in the community. So for those who weren't present, I'll quickly repeat that Dimitri has been like an iconic photography-based artist, an incredible visual storyteller who's done work like the cover of Daft Punk, all the iconic PlayStation ads you've all seen and known, but nobody knows that it's Dimitri, right? Many of you are here is like, okay, no, probably you guys have already checked his site, but I'm sure some of you didn't know who he was, and that was the whole point, because at some stage, like there was this guy called David Bowie who also thought that the Daft Punk cover was pretty cool, and he started sharing it on social media without attribution to Dimitri. And so basically he lost all this intellectual property on that work. And the way how he actually came into the NFT space was just minting those NFTs, those artworks, just to reclaim his intellectual property on that iconic work he did, and that really connected with me, and that's how we got talking. But what my main question is, because Dimitri has evolved like all artists do. They don't stand still. They always think fast forward. And he's one of the first artists who went from 2D, I mean, from analog to digital, very, very early stage. And maybe Dimitri, you can talk a little bit about that stage where you made that transition and how that came along. I'm not sure if you're unmuted or speak up to see if your voice is up. If not, I'm gonna fill the voice. I can't hear you for now. No worries. You'll have to unmute or maybe check your mic. But I'll just continue the story that I was telling. So basically, because it's that's the past, you know, that it's incredible, fascinating to hear how it made a transformation from like analog to digital. But what is even more fascinating is that he reinvented himself by a new art form called photogrammetry, which is in essence scanning images and then creating 3D objects out of it. And that creates incredible stuff. And that opens up a whole new era of exploration. And that's that's what we're hoping to do.
Didn't we run
Another
into something like this the other day where like I think somebody was muted and then like somebody the other day in a call was not
I
able to
remember.
talk.
Yeah. I think it was Wordle. Maybe that's something to do with like the server settings. So maybe Wordle can, in the background,
Okay.
go check if Dimitri has enough missions or whatever, because maybe it's not his issue.
Yeah, I'll DM Mortal.
Cool. So now that we're all here, another thing that I definitely want to ask the community is like, if you have objects in mind that are related. Oh, I see that he got the role now, so he's probably gonna be able to speak. You unmute now, Dimitri, because I see you got a star. Not yet? That's fine. We'll work behind the scenes to make it happen. So any of you who are currently listening, if you have an object in mind that you feel is really fitting into the narrative of Olympus, please share it in the channel. Maybe that could be one of the objects that can be scanned by Dimitri, and maybe that can be something that can be turned into a piece of art one day. So that is a request to the whole community, and yeah, it's actually just a fresh idea. It's not something that's been scripted. It's been something that Dimitri and I just like brainstormed like one day earlier. But I would love anyone who's able to find objects that are related to Greek mythology. Can be a little statue, it can be whatever you think that could be fitting into our narrative. That would be amazing if we could have you guys search for things like that, because it's definitely super difficult. Memetics, you can maybe fill in my role here a little bit. I'm gonna check because I've got a direct message. So
Yeah, no problem. So one emphasis that we're taking with the project is value layers. So how can we create value layers to the NFT that's going to differentiate it from other NFTs? You've got a lot of NFTs, like I said, that are just sort of churned into the market. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and pull up value layers that I've got drawn out here. So right now we're looking at about 8 different value layers. So one is Odyssey DAO membership. So that would just be your voice at the table to be able to vote on curation of the NFTs. So which artists we choose, what art pieces we choose, and obviously that Odyssey DAO is going to be oriented towards curating NFTs that are reflective of Omi culture. So, for example, the work with Dimitri, we're looking at statues and things that can kind of be oriented towards the culture of Olympus, or at least thematic to Olympus. In the future, we might be able to integrate, like in Olympus, we have different historic kind of like memes and moments within Olympus. So we could in the future pick an artist who wants to implement some of those aspects into the art that we curate. But we want each piece, each NFT, to be really, really special, to really take our time on the curation and curate one NFT at a time. And that will kind of create a dopamine cycle where, if we're releasing one NFT at a time, each release is a press release, and each press release is a hit of dopamine for the Ohmies. So that's one thing. And then another value layer is just the art itself. So we have the Odyssey DAO membership is one value layer. Another value layer is the art itself and just the merit of the art itself. So we have the concept of authenticating these NFTs with like a certificate of authenticity that you can just transpose with the DAO. So your NFT comes with a certificate of authenticity that Odyssey DAO can validate should that need arise. So there's kind of an extra layer of validation that makes that NFT that much more valid. Another layer is charity, and then another layer is the entry into the auction house. So that's, and then another layer is the yield-bearing aspect of the NFT itself. That this can be a yield-bearing NFT. So it's not your typical staking model where you just take an NFT and you stake it. It's actually pegged to SOM. And then another layer would be this goal-oriented aspect where we're pursuing collective goals. So that's just a quick overview of some of the value layers we've been exploring. But Dimitri, are you able to talk yet, or still having issues?
I think he should be fine now. Now he can hear us because he's been listening in and we've been chatting. He's got the stage role. So Dimitri, maybe if you can speak. No, you're probably still not.
Warco, could we do like a normal voice channel instead of the stage kind of thing, and maybe try that and just move everybody? Or should we go to the DAO server?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Let me just invite Warto.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
there we go.
Fantastic. Woohoo!
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so I don't know. There was something that I had to press, but I don't know what.
No worries, man. Like open stage.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Eve and Memetics, for all these nice comments. First, it's a pleasure to be here and to thank you both for inviting me here. I've heard many good things, Memetics, about what you were just saying now about the NFT. So I'm glad to hear that from all the people that are thinking the same. So just to explain a little bit, like Eve was saying, for the little stories that I did shot with Daft Punk back in 2008 was a cover for a magazine in US called Lemon Magazine, and was like a small production. And so they came to the studio. We did this whole series where they were featured with the first 3D model. I mean, the girl was fully CGI'd. So back in 2008, it was pretty much by the first CG body human in photography. That was common in film, but not so much in photography, because I work very, very high res at 300 dpi. I mean, data that needs very high and very long render time. And the story, I mean, the shoot with them was great. The pictures were great, and then time passed, and I recently heard. I mean, I've never been so much in social media until recently, and like a few months ago, I discovered that the picture actually was like in every fan club. was discovered that back in 2014, David Bowie used it during the London Music Award. So I realized that my photos have been all around and without my name. And I've decided, what is the solution for me to get it back? I mean, to get my name on these images. And I heard about NFT because I'm working with a lot of artists, and they were talking to me about this NFT thing. And I thought that's for me the perfect reason, as I don't see the NFT just as a market, but as a real tool for artists to promote and to get protection on their work. So that's how I started to, I entered Super Rare, had my images there, and start to promote and learn also, because the market for an artist is very different. Like until now, I was used to work with an agent. I mean, with many agents in US, in France, in Asia, and so they usually manage your time, your money, not your money, but your clients and all these kind of things. And when you enter the NFT market, now suddenly the artist has to manage all of that. And I must say, it's not that easy when you have no clue about how art market is working. So technically, just to explain also, Yves was talking about my images with PlayStation. So basically, I'm by the first artist, I would say, by my age, by the time I've been around in photography. I started about 20 years ago in analog photography, shooting with the 4x5 camera, like the old style camera where you shoot just like one shot after one, and you have to switch the back of the camera to do another shot. So I started with that. And my very, very first 3D was back in 2000, was a campaign for Marité and François Girbeau in France. And I had to make wings, but they were people models with some kind of very like architecture kind of wings, like birds, between birds and architecture. And for that, we had to work with AutoCAD. So that was, at that time, there was no digital camera, there was nothing. So I was shooting 4x5 and included the wings that were made by architect on AutoCAD. And we post-produced that, but like very old school, like cutting out the renders and putting it on the photo. That was the very, very first one. Then I started in 2003 shooting digital, like fully digital. Same again, you have to imagine in 2003, the highest resolution for a digital back was 20 million pixel, which is what everybody has on his camera, on his phone now. So at that time, shooting 20 million was like huge, but not enough. So you had to do like multiple shots to combine them together to make one very big file to be usable for advertising. So I started like this campaign with PlayStation, won many awards with shooting digital. At that time also people were like, the photographers were like, but Dimitri, what are you doing? Digital is shit. It's just like bad quality, you have no depth, no. I was like, no, it's perfect to shoot the kind of image I'm doing. The quality is there, and it's making the whole post-production process much easier than shooting with film. And so I started digital, back in 2003. Then moved to, starting to add 3D, like usual 3D, around 2006, 7, 8. The first test, I was going slowly because at that time, again, the digital, the 3D wasn't very easy to work with photography. And 3-4 years ago, I started to work with photogrammetry. So I almost abandoned photography. Photogrammetry is some kind of 3D photography. And I am convinced as NFT will be the future for artists, photogrammetry is the future for photography. Not for all the photography, you'll still be shooting photography, but why should you shoot something flat, 2D, when you can shoot it 3D directly? Memetics, you were mentioning earlier about NFT, about all this world of artists working with 3D. That who are the good ones, who are the bad ones, what are they using? I mean, the issue that most of the 3D artists have now is that they all get their sources, their models, like the generic body shape, for example, they all get the same one, the best one, but they all get the same one. So the difference now with photogrammetry is you will be, and any photographer, any 3D artist should be able either to switch to propose to his client a photogrammetry service. Why? Because this would give your identity in the future. Like a 3D artist, you can shoot, I mean, you can use the regular 3D generic body that you buy from providers, or you can shoot the body you like. Shooting the body you like in 3D and then use it in your own productions. So that will make your personality stronger. Same for photographers. As a photographer, if you can propose to your client, look, I can shoot the regular photo, but I can also shoot your product in 3D. So thanks to that 3D, you will be able to use this 3D for all your future productions. Or if you want to, from one 3D shot, you will be able to make renders, like flat renders, like photography, like video, like VR immersive experience, all of that from one scan. So why should you stick to photography when shooting directly 3D will give you all these options? So, and this is where Yves invited me to work with you and propose maybe some ideas around the photogrammetry, as I really think for the future everything will have to be scanned. I mean, from people to object to everything. So here I am.
Fantastic, fantastic. We're so excited to go on this journey. And
Thank you.
maybe there's not more people like myself who are very keen in exploring this new art form. I think you've mentioned me that you were thinking of maybe one day also offering like online workshops. Is that something that is still on your mind, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's I've been working now for 3-4 years around photogrammetry. On one side, I have developed personal work, artistic work, which is very about exploration, not looking to make it perfect, just trying to find all the different aspects, all the different possibilities. I was doing today a masterclass at a university. And so the idea of sharing my knowledge, sharing my vision also about it, because it's not just to shoot photogrammetry, it's really to share a vision about how you can build a new art. I mean, a new trend in art, basically. Like you can use your camera, you can use your recorder, I mean, your camera recorder. You can also use photogrammetry to create your own environment. And so I think that's, for me, the idea of making online, either through Discord or a different kind of workshop is my is something that I want to do, separating, I think, from the leisure to professional, so trying to adapt depending of people's need. Yeah.
And how does that impact, like, I've seen like metaverses where you can walk into a gallery and you can basically, like, in this digital world, like walk around in a museum, but how does it change when art is 3D? How does that
That's
change?
But imagine, I mean, that's we can discuss for hours about that. But imagine that's all I like about photogrammetry. For now, what you have in this digital museum, in this metaverse, are 3D art, but made from 3D. But imagine, so from now, if you can scan, I can scan you, I can scan mimetic, I can scan a sculpture, I can scan a car, I can scan everything I want and bring it to the metaverse. So it means there is no more limit between the physical world and the digital world. Right now, what was in digital was staying in digital. But thanks to photogrammetry, we can take the physical into digital. And this has a seamless, so there is no more limit between these two spaces. So we can create sculpture. I mean, I'm working on personal work where I'm making sculpture. I mean, I will be shortly selling an NFT of a story, but as an object, as something very simple from everyday's life. But this piece is part of a real story that happened in the real world. So that's what also the photogrammetry can give you. You can buy, I mean, the gloves from a fighting, I mean, from a fighting game, you say? You could scan the gloves from just after the fight. You can scan them and sell that as an NFT. This is the exact replica of the gloves that could KO this other guy, and you can scan it right after the game. So do you imagine you can own the exact copy? I mean, the state with maybe some bloods on the gloves. You can own that in the exact state as it was at the end of a fight. I'm talking about. I mean, could be like a ball, like a soccer ball. You could get the ball from the world championship, scan the ball, and sell the NFT, which is the exact replica of the ball at the end of the game. And this is coming from the real world into the digital world with no limit in between.
Magic. I think that is enough to make all of us dream. And yeah, this definitely feels like the very early stages of an incredible journey, maybe even on Odyssey. I'm really pleased that we're all together in this story, and we're gonna be writing history, I think, literally.
But
So
maybe this is the link also for the DAO would be to scan things from the real life at a point. And that's the other thing I like for photography. I mean, to preserve the right, which is to link the real object to the NFT. So basically, for every photographers, you could be selling your images, but selling the physical print and link it to the NFT. And this would give a lot of opportunity for photographers to prove the authenticity of the work, and maybe to give value also to the NFT, because there is right now some kind of, it's slowing down already, and I think it needs something more. I mean, to open up to other people and not only digital people.
Yeah, I don't think that there's really any overstating how exciting this is, because this is really like we're tapping into the future of digital art, and well, it's such a huge opportunity to be able to work with you, Dimitri, because it's it's giving us an opportunity to take this community driven project and then tap into kind of the future of where art on where digital art is going. I was recently listening to a podcast with Raoul Paul, who's a macroeconomist, talking about the NFT space and just how basically the future of the NFT space is the metaverse. and being able to walk into a gallery, or being able to walk into a museum to see these beautiful statues, as like centerpieces in the museum, and then you have other pieces hanging on the wall and such. Like, I can just imagine it being such an incredibly unique experience that just really hasn't been seen before. And I think that we're really honest in here, having Dimitri involved, and I can't thank you enough for agreeing to work with us.
Thank you very much. Just think, I mean, you can save everything from this photogrammetry NFT thing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The opportunities that will create for us is actually mind-blowing. And again, I want to invite everyone here in the audience. Please come and join the Odyssey channel on the Discord server, and let's all brainstorm about all these incredible ideas that have been launched here tonight. Want to be a little bit also respectful to the time, because it's already, for Dimitri and myself, it's 2:00 at night in our time zone. So I'm not sure if maybe Memetics want to do some closing thoughts.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to say besides that, this project is driven by the community. So anybody who wants to get involved, please come to the Odyssey channel. On Sunday at 1:45 Eastern time, we're having a meeting, and we welcome any of you to come. If you want to convert that meeting to your time zone, just go to the DAO channel, or go to the DAO Discord, and go to the calendar channel and RSVP there, and that bot there will allow you to convert the time zone. But it's at 1:45 Eastern time, and like I said, we're going to be discussing distribution, value proposition, and just sort of, it's going to be a little bit of a general meeting because we've already had a few distribution meetings. So everybody just sort of brainstorm, come back with your ideas. Now that you've kind of felt out from Dimitri what he's talking about, that you can take this like incredible detail, the small details from the real world, and transpose them into the digital world. Like, it's a little bit mind-blowing. It's going to take a little bit of time for us to digest it, but if we come to that meeting on Sunday with some ideas, but I'm really excited about this. I mean, I think we've really created something special, and I think that honestly, we have the best angle out of any NFT project I've seen. We have the community involved. It's been community driven the entire time. We're transposing this amazing culture into this art, and we have like literally the revolution of digital art in front of us, and this incredible artist. So one more time, thank you very much, Dimitri, for coming on, especially so late in your time zone. Appreciate it.
Really, Dimitri, thanks again. Very, very much appreciated. Always a pleasure to talk with you. And as you know, there's going to be many more brainstorms. This was just like a little teaser into the future. I want to thank everyone here in the audience for showing up so late or so early, or whatever time zone you are. Dimitri, guys, peace out. Thanks a lot. Talk more soon.
Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace out.